Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
McDonald's presents the greatest matchup in basketball, Charles and Taz. Sylvester and Wowie? Wowie and Wowie?
Collect all the matchups on McDonald's NBA Looney Tunes All-Star Cups. Buy any extra value meal and for 39 cents more, supersize it and get a free cup for a limited time. Break for yours today.
Wedgie and Woodwanna? Gracious, Michael?
I thought you retired. McDonald's NBA Looney Tunes All-Star Showdown Cups.
This Mortal Kombat 2 thing, that is a legit. Do you remember? You probably maybe weren't nerdy enough for this. Do you remember a game magazine called Game Pro? I think it's what it's called. It's from that.
Don't test my nerddom.
From when Mortal Kombat 2. So that's a pretty old poster, and it was all fucked up. So if you notice, it's kind of like burnt around the edges. I did that, Steve. I made my own little art.
That looked like it's intended. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I meant for that to happen, and I gotta say, it's pretty cool. I forgot, like, the upgrade from Mortal Kombat 1 to 2. You went from, like, 6 guys to, I feel like Mortal Kombat 2 was, like, the perfection, honestly.
Out of 1 and 3?
Yeah, for sure. I loved Mortal Kombat 2, dude.
Me too. That I remember getting that for my birthday. Was that 94, my least favorite year of the 90s. But my Aunt Stacy, shout out to my Aunt Stacy. I remember she dropped it off like right around midnight, man. And
dang.
Ironically, that like it was a Friday going into Saturday. Saturday was my actual birthday, I believe, that year. But my Aunt Stacy, she stopped by. She had the Mortal Kombat because I asked her, you know what I mean? She got it for me. And
damn,
like
Aunt
that same
Stacy, dude, with that Mortal Kombat 2 hookup, Steve.
Hell yeah. I was a good nephew, man. And that same day on TBS, they had a Saved by the Bell marathon all Friday, all Saturday. So like, dude, you know what I mean? Despite the fact I didn't care for 94, like that was kind of lit. And I'm a Virgo, being fucking like all introverted and shit. So it's like, shit, I got a new video game and Saved by the Bell. Fuck people. That was like my own personal pandemic for me. And that was fine because I was new in Toledo. And like, I didn't like some of those kids. They had cracking on my ears. And I know they were big. Hey, fuck them. But speaking of birthdays, Cat Cobain, that son of a bitch, I told him it was your birthday episode, July 27th. And he was like, you know what, man? I can come and sing a song or two for Matt. Yeah, man.
Dude, hell yeah. Cat Cobain back for my birthday, dude?
Cat Cobain, this is... No, well, before it was Cat Cornell, that fucking son of a bitch, Cat Cobain. This is finally he can make it, but this is for a special occasion. So here we go, man.
Let's do it. Cat Cobain, welcome. The illustrious.
Meow 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 meow.
Nice. Oh, he just left. He just finished and literally just left like that. No, I would have liked a happy birthday, but I guess it's a lot.
Hey, his presence says a lot, man. That was his presence. His presence.
Well, thank you to
I connect with these
thank
cats.
you, Steve. Like, you made it happen. You made it happen.
He got connections, man. My grandma had a lot of cats in her backyard, man. It's a personal thing. It's like some kind of Dr. Xavier thing. They flock to me.
Yeah, telepathy. You got cat telepathy or something. That's, I don't understand it, but I understand it, I watch The Shining and it's kind of the same thing. You're communicating. And I appreciate it. I appreciate getting a celebrity of that level for a little old me, Steve. I mean, I feel honored right now.
Don't undersell yourself.
That wasn't. I mean, that's just me being realistic. You know, for a guy of that stature, for a cat of that stature, Steve. You know, it means the world to me. And I gotta say though, 40 years old, July 27th, 1983 to now. It's been a wild ride, but I gotta say, looking sexy at 40, Steve. This
You
is
hold it well.
I gotta say. So Rick Rude would be proud. You know, all my idols. I hope they're looking down on me and they're saying, you know, 40's looking good on you, Matt G, and I appreciate it. So happy birthday to me. Uh Steve, 40 years old. Who would have thought? Back in the 90s, could you imagine being 40 years old? I couldn't.
And I remember 40, looking at that as like it was old. Now 40 is like, I mean, yeah.
Look at us.
Even 50, I don't even really look at as old.
Nah. No, I mean, I think there's some weirdness about when you do look at people like our age back in the day, like Belding was our age, and they just looked older. So I don't know what it is, whether it's we're taking better care of ourselves, but you know, I like looking back on the 90s, looking better than I did in the 90s, Steve. And that's saying something for an old man, you know, to be in better shape in your 40s than you were in your 10s or 20s. I'm doing all right. So let's knock on wood and let's just keep pushing, Steve. 40 on, we're still going uphill. We haven't hit the peak yet, bud.
Cheers, my friend, to many more.
Hell yeah, dude. A little came out. See, I'm drinking today, and I'm not drinking like you, but I'm a lightweight.
Hey, it's your B-Day, Matt. Pick your
Salute.
poison.
Hell yeah.
Drink your Mike's Hards.
Steve, this is a Cayman Jack respect on it, but thank you, man. Fucking loved it. I love that we get to spend my birthday doing this. What a great birthday present.
We're talking all things Matthew Genick in the 90s.
So you claimed $84,000 in entertainment expenses?
Yes, I did.
Do you have any receipts to back this up?
No, I don't.
Well, what's in the bag then?
Tostitos, chips, and salsa? People really love them. Every time I open the bag, I mean, one thing...
Tostitos tortilla chips are so deliciously perfect with Tostitos salsa. Next thing you know, it's a party.
I smell refund.
Really?
No, not really.
You got Tostitos, you got a party.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Mark McGuire and your Marky Mark, because today is the greatest day I've ever known. Can't live for tomorrow. Tomorrow's much too long. I'll burn my eyes out before I get out. I wanted more than life could ever grant me. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're committing to the whole song here, Steve, but...
That shit.
Dude, Billy Corgan, dude, in the 90s. I mean, even now, dude, but... Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, it sounds cheesy. It sounds like something you want to shit on. It is not to be shitted on.
Yeah. And look, man, Billy Cadigan, he will circle the block. So
okay,
never know when he'll pull up. Billy Cadigan, he a bad motherfucker, man. He can screech. Yeah.
Billy Cadigan, dude, how do you know? It's a very specific sect of cats that you know.
I know some talented cats. Look, man, all of these cats would come to my grandma's backyard. She would always leave crumbs out for them, loaves of bread, and like it's kind of like Tarzan with the apes. I grew up around some cats, so I speak cat, fluent in cat. You know what I mean? And some things don't need to be said. It's already understood. I don't know where I was going with that, but maybe I shouldn't have said that part. Maybe people would have bought into it. But anywho,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so like I know enough the scoundrels. I know some of the scumbag cats. Like they can't come on the show, but Cat Cobain, Cat Cornell, Billy Cadigan, they're related to some of those
Okay.
scumbags
There's,
who wish to remain unnamed.
I'm jiving with it, Steve. I'm fucking Akeeming with it.
Well, cause you a jive so bro.
Do you know Akeem the Cat Dream, Steve?
And I know some cats who know some cats who
Alright.
know Akeem. Yeah, that's a jive so cat.
Oh,
Well, today, my friend, we are talking about all things July 27th and Matt Geddick in the 90s. Oh, snookered. Starting off in 1990, Presumed Innocent premieres in theaters. And I know the 7-year-old Matt, he could not wait to put on his buckled shoes to go to the theater with Sonia and George Leroy to check out some Presumed Innocent. As a lawyer investigates the murder of a colleague, he finds himself more connected to the crime than anyone else. Directed by Alan J. Pakula, starring Harrison Ford, Brian Dennehy, Raul Julia, Bonnie Bedelia, Paul Winfield, and Greta Scacchi. And Anna Maria Horsford, the mom from Friday, Sweet D.
damn. Hey, girl. Fucking Dennehy though. I love a nice, intense Brian Dennehy, but I gotta say, Harrison Ford's doing a lot of like caught up in the mix murder dramas in the 90s.
That became his niche in the 90s, man.
Yeah, The
Like
Fugitive. It sounds bizarrely close. Maybe it's not his wife, it's a colleague, but yeah, he tapped into something here.
Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah. But him hanging out with Dennehy, that was fun. That was a good
Hey
time.
Matt, caption this.
God, my ass hurts. I don't know why. He looks like he has a hemorrhoid, Steve. Like he's complaining about it.
Is he staring at my ass again? God damn that Harrison.
Hey, Sally, stop looking and take a picture, you fuck.
Pop a Kodak already.
Come on, Tommy boy. Man,
he's a stickler for my stuff. But this time around, also in 1990, I know young 7-year-old Matthew put on his best Zumbas, creased and everything to the nines, to see some Problem Child. A young boy just short of a monster is adopted by a loving man and his wacky wife. The laughs keep coming as the boy pushes them to the limits. Directed by Dennis Dugan, starring John Ritter, Michael Oliver, Gilbert Gottfried, Amy Yazbek, Michael Richards, Jack Warden, and Peter Jurassic.
I mean, some hitters in this, Steve. I know you were there too. We were loving this in the 90s.
I was eating up that Problem Child bag.
Yeah. I mean, the redhead factor, I mean, this is a demon seed, and I mean, this is a comedic take on that. But this is really what you're going to get if you actually adopt a redheaded child, first off. But I gotta say, quick shout out to Dennis Dugan who directed this. I didn't realize that guy was like kind of a very prolific guy. I just kind of knew him as because he's associated with Adam Sandler and shit.
Correct.
He's done a lot of his movies, but he directed
Dennis and Menace.
That, and he like an old school one that's just kind of like a cheesy 80s movie. It's called Can't Buy Me Love. And I think that's kind of like a sort of fake John Hughes movie where a kid pays a hot chick to like act like his girlfriend for a week. I think the guy who was in like not fucking the one doctor show that's like still going.
ER?
Yeah, no, McDreamy or something. I don't know if you remember that guy. He's like a heartthrob doctor, dude.
Not Nip Tuck, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Forget it's like I think it's still going and I just can't think of the name, but yeah, Dennis Dugan, dude, really got in with the Sandman, so you gotta respect that. But had I known that he was like this was a regular rental of Matt Geddick. I went to the library and I couldn't find anything else. Pop me a Problem Child in. Give me maybe Problem Child 2 in the future, but I love this. I love the crazy hijinks that this awful child gets into. I mean, this kid is gonna be a serial killer, but they've spun this into being hilarious and somewhat heartwarming at the end, Steve.
Well, Matt, if it had a kid when we were kids, I'm all in, man. And it start a kid and it's slapstickle. The kid is always getting the upper hand. It was like a Revenge Against the Adults kind of movie. Like a lot of movies around this time, starring Macaulay Culkin or some one-off little twerp. But we were eating this shit up. I know I was. I couldn't wait to see the sequel. And Junior, we're introduced to him and his whole mystique early in the game. Even as a kid, he was a problem child, a problem baby. He's pissing on as a newborn, he's pissing on his mama all the time. She can't take like having pissy blouses. So she drops him off to the next house, and they drop him off to the next house. He finds himself in an orphanage where he spends most of his early days.
Yeah. I mean, by the time he gets to the orphanage, he's broken windows. He's almost killed pets. He's actually bulldozed the trailer of one of the families he was given to. And he finally makes it to like this very militaristic, mean nunnery place, this adoption agency, and he's causing havoc. At one point, he even throws a nun out a window tied to a rope, John McClane style, and sends her hanging. So I feel like, you can't arrest a kid, but I think we find out, at some point before he's actually adopted that he was given up like a clean like 30 times before he actually gets a family. So,
and he's only like 8.
Yeah, Junior, I mean, he's terrorizing the nuns, like even the nuns. I mean, nuns are always portrayed as like these monsters, and they probably are in a lot of cases in these movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he fucks with everybody. And I feel like he's just feared. Fear is his tool, Steve. His mental warfare game is strong. And so he's set up as like this, sort of monster in training. And then we cut to a really sweet John Ritter. John Ritter is a little Ben Healy, the son of a magnate. I guess he owns like a sporting goods store of some kind.
He's like a Dick's Sporting Goods kind of deal, played by Jack Warden. And I loves me some Jack Warden. It's great that like his whole career before the 90s was something completely different. He was like a serious actor. Yeah. But like I know Jack Warden as the guy from Dirty Work and the grandpa from Problem Child. And I love that. I like that Jack Warden. He's great at that.
Just a salty son of a bitch. Asshole. Doesn't give a fuck.
He's your go-to. He was your go-to. All right, I'm gonna take a sip for some motherfucking Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack.
Let's do that. Jack, we fucks with you.
Big
baby.
Ben. Here's one to you, bud. But so Big Ben's the dad. He's an asshole. His son's kind of he's a sweetie, but he's grown up sort of a bitch. He's a pushover. And he's married actually to a beautiful Amy Asbeck. I think her name is Florence in this movie, and she's looking sexy.
And she's redhead.
Yeah,
naturally.
I do. And I'm gonna retract that for her specifically, Steve.
I'm gonna sell you. I'm gonna sell you on them gingers.
I'm that one you can definitely sell me on because she can get it. And she's married to John, but we find out in the early goings in this movie that they can have kids, I believe. I think it's her fault. Her parts are all fucked up. There's a hilarious thing like with a gynecologist or some sort of like birthing specialist where he has like a model of a uterus and he's like, well, your brown parts are purple and this and that. And it's just like a really
he's like juggling the parts and stuff. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if I could trust this guy. Like they should have asked for a second opinion. This guy, yeah.
And so Junior's causing his issues. Along parallel to that, the Heelys are trying to figure out like having a kid, but it like little Ben wants to have a kid, and it seems like his wife kind of just wants to have a kid, maybe for like the social status. Like she doesn't really want a kid.
She's in it for the wrong reasons. She's there for the social benefits, for the extra income on the tax return, that kind of shit.
Yeah. She's trying to come up with a kid, but so that's all happening. Things are aligning there. And alongside that, we meet Kramer. I forget what his name is, but there's like
The
a
bow
series.
tie killer.
Yeah, the bow tie killer. So we see that that's going on, and he's been like arrested at this point, or is going. He's in jail, I think.
He's in jail. Like
Yeah.
they caught him. He's wreaking havoc, and we see that Junior. He's instantly infatuated with this guy. He's like, man, this guy must be a celebrity. He's on every channel.
I think he even is like, man, what a handsome guy. Like it's just he's loving it. He likes all things bow tie killer. He even affects. I didn't realize that the bow tie that he's known for is actually worn because of his love of a serial killer. I never even I thought he was just trying to make himself look cool. I'm an idiot, Steve. What can I say?
Well, things like that we don't pick apart as children, because like we saw this brand spanking new when we were Junior's age. I believe he was actually 7 when we were 7 and turning 7.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, man. But now, yeah, like this movie gets cray in a crazy way, man.
Yeah. So, Junior's maybe has like a little role model that he's buddy, maybe a pen pal actually. He becomes. So
Smitten.
all these things are happening. The mix is happening. So we start following little Ben. He goes to work, and his dad's like this, big presence in his life. He gets to work, clearly still a sweetie. So he gets called up to his dad's office in this big place, son of the owner. He's probably going to get this, right? That's not the case, Steve. We find out his dad's like, look, I'm selling the place to the Japs, and you're not getting anything. And that's it. That's all it is, Steve. There's no sorry about that.
That's the bottom line. Because
And,
Big Ben said so.
Yeah. And also his dad is running for mayor. So there's all these things going on. And Junior is still in this orphanage. And we get to the point where he's causing all these problems. And I forget what he actually does, but he almost kills the headmistress. And then they have to call in, I guess, their adoption specialist, who is Gilbert Godfrey, who's Mr. Peabody. Yeah. And they're like, get this fucking kid out of here. And he's like, lady. He's very much Gilbert Godfrey in this.
Very.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like he's the only person to appear in all Problem Child things. He was in Problem Childs 1 through 3, the live action, and he was in the animated series that started in the early 90s, I believe. The only person to be involved with all projects. And I like the part where Junior is imitating. He's like mimicking Gilbert Godfrey while he's doing his whole plating thing. And and Junior, he's going with the movements, man. That's brilliant. And I feel like this movie didn't require much like acting from the kid, he's pretty matter-of-factly about his plight. Like
he's
from the beginning.
Adults, he's like, you guys are stupid. Like, can I get out of it? He's like, I want out of this place. So they know he's an asshole. Everyone knows he's an asshole. Now it's up to Gilbert to like con this kid off on somebody, which is very convenient because little Ben walks into the adoption agency because they they consider all these things and they realize that, well, if we have a kid, maybe we'll get invited to all these parties in the neighborhood. We'll be social. We'll be part of the social set that we want to be part of. So they go to see Gilbert. And Gilbert does a perfect job of conning these. He's like, I like you people. So I'm not going to say anything, but there's just this perfect kid that I know you'll love. And he gets them to like really, he cons them into adopting Junior. Junior's also great. He's a con man, Steve. He's got the bow tie. He's like, oh, you guys look great. He's the perfect angel.
Been studying that bow tie killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so they finally see Junior. Junior sees them. And he's like, what a couple of yahoos. And like as soon as he leaves, they all celebrate, like the whole orphanage. He's like, man, like John Ritter's thinking like, oh, man, they all came to see him out. Like, he must be a really special kid.
Yeah.
And as soon as they take off, they're like, yeah, let's turn up. Even the nuns. And the main nun, I called her King Kong Nundy.
Yeah, dude. She's got a fucking mole on her forehead that you just can't stop looking at. It's like, you got to get that taken off, lady.
It's talking to me and it's staring back.
It's bubbling. And so now Junior's got a family, Steve. And he's really lucked up. I mean, this kid's a piece of shit, but he gets adopted by like a guy, like the house he gets into, the whole situation is just top notch. So from my perspective, other than a few things, he should be happy, but this kid, he's got evil inside of him, Steve.
Yeah, he sees that they set up a clown room for him, and like I don't know, I was never big on clowns. Like, yeah, that just wasn't my thing. But like,
I
it was
hated
funny.
it.
I would say I hated him. I just didn't care for him. Like, I know there were other things like Muppets and puppets and shit like that were catered to kids. That like, okay, I fuck with that. But clowns, it was just never my bag.
Yeah. I just got scared by a clown very early on in my life, so I never liked them like that. Um,
Yeah.
there's a very funny picture. My mom and dad got a clown for me at like a really early age, and it's just me crying while the clown's trying to like play with me at a birthday party. It's hilarious, but Junior's not into it. He gets home. I
He
do
actually
like
calls him retarded.
he does. Yeah. When
That's
he sees the clown room, when they open the door, he's like, "Oh my god, these people are retarded." Um, when he walks in, like Florence, the wife, has all these like tchotchkes everywhere because she loves cats. So she has all these porcelain cats everywhere. And he looks around and he's just like, "I hope you guys are insured." He just, this kid just wants to destroy Steve. Um,
yeah, like
he
Metallica.
So little Ben calls his dad over because he has a surprise. And his dad thinks that his wife is actually pregnant. He's like, "Damn, okay, you finally knocked her up." And he's like, "No, Dad, I adopted." And his dad is like, "Are you insane?" Like his dad has the worst reaction to it as possible.
Yeah, I noticed you were getting a little hefty there, lady.
And he's like, "No, Dad, we adopted. Junior's upstairs. Let me show you him." So they take him up to the room to show him Junior. But Junior's already decided to take care of this clown problem because they open the
Fuck
door
these clowns.
and it's his room's in flames and he comes out looking like the devil. And the dad's like, "Oh my God, he's the devil." It's very evil looking. I love it.
Yeah, Big Ben is instantly on the Junior. This little punk is lying.
I mean, he's right. He's right on, Steve. So as this is happening, Junior feels like Big Ben is kind of onto him. So
He's a
what does
hater.
he do? He throws a fucking cat at Big
throws
Ben
the
and
cat
almost kills his ass. Fucking-
Like, yeah, so the ambulance comes to pick Big Ben up, man. And yeah, the family's introduced to Junior now.
Yeah. And we also see as like the ambulance is going away, Junior's like, everyone's like, "Are you okay, Junior? I know this has been crazy." And he's like, he actually had to like take in the grandpa's wallet. He's counting the money and shit. This kid's a fucking G.
Yeah, he is.
At this point in the movie, he's already started writing letters to the bow tie killer. So Kramer's getting these letters from Junior. And he's actually assuming that this isn't a kid. Like, why would a kid be writing them to me? He thinks some cold-blooded killer named JR is writing to him. That just is kind of setting some stuff up. So now Kramer is in jail and he's gaming the prison shrink. We see him getting like some sort of a test done, like a psychological test. The shrink's trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But there's like this fat warden that's like, "He's lying." And he's constantly like interrupting. So the prison shrink like kicks that guy out. And as soon as he gets the cop out of the room, he holds up like an ink blot. And this is like the only thing that made me laugh of Kramer in the last decade. He's like, "So what do you see on this?" And Kramer's like, "Blood." It's very over the top villain, dude.
This is weird. The best thing Michael Richards has done, in my opinion. I'll take a shot for that.
Okay, I'll give him a shot for that. But he actually escapes now. Kramer's on the loose. The bow tie killer's on the loose. And now we're back with the family, this new family. And we actually see that, even as a new dad, little Ben's a good dad. He's really caring. He's trying to help Junior out. And the first thing, part of this, is this seems like a little bit quick, but they're immediately going on a camping trip together. Fuck settling in, but damn.
And we haven't talked about Roy, one of the neighbors, and Roy is annoying. He's like the super dad, and he'll eventually get himself a cap that says super dad, and he's rubbing it in little Ben's face that, hey, me and my wife are expecting, and I don't know if Roy's aware that him and his wife are infertile, but that adds to the pressure that little Ben has of like having a child, creating a family. And so yeah, there's Roy, his 4 or 5 kids. They're all cringe. Even the wife, she's cringe. And we're also introduced to another neighbor. There's a lady and her daughter, and the daughter's birthday is coming up. They're inviting Junior and the rest of the family to come along. And the little girl, she's a little brat, little biatch. She's like, I don't know. He looks like the guy that cremated Uncle Leo.
Dude, she has no like filter. She'll say anything because she's like, he's not even a real kid. He's adopted. She's one of these kids. This is like a very Perrysburg kind of situation, Steve. So I feel like that's why we get it a little bit more. But we can see that some of this shittiness is like hurting Junior's feelings. He's like, damn, like what?
Yeah.
But
he's a human.
This is not the kid that you want to hurt his feelings because he clocks that, gets to go, and so now he's got some hurt feelings. Lucy's a bitch. That's the little girl's name, but he eats it, and they get an invite to the party because the mom's like super aggro about doing it. So he's like, "All right, bitch, I'll see you later. I'll clock that one. You got one in on me. I got it. It's fine."
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here for a long time, but a real good time.
Yeah. And so they're going on this camping trip, but Florence, now that she knows that they get to go to a party soon, she's like, well, I got to go get a dress. So she bails on the camping trip immediately. She's out. She's not even going camping because fuck this kid. I got to get a dress. So that's kind of fucked up. But they go on this trip. Little Ben and Junior, Roy, all those kids. And it's just not even starting off good, Steve. Roy's got the good spot. The Heelys are sitting right next to the shitters. It's not great. Junior just like he's not helping. And I hate that Roy will he says like passive aggressive things that are almost like too personal to where you would get hit in the mouth if the guy wasn't a bitch. Because he is like, yeah, man, it's nice you have a boy, but it's crazy you can't, have one naturally. You had to adopt. You had to pay for one. But that's cool. It's like, dude, what the fuck, dude?
And he gives little Ben a hat that says dad, and he gives himself, Roy, a hat that says super dad. So that is some little low-key sneak dissing passive aggressive bullshit, man.
Yeah.
But I love Junior's commentary where he's talking about Roy's kids. He's like, hey, these are Roy's kids. They all share a brain. The one on the end has it today.
Also, Junior, this whole time that they've even been going on the trip, this little psychopath has like a slingshot and he's just killing birds. He's killed at least a dozen birds by the time that they're set up shop, Steve. So, as they're getting all set up, he's doing what I used to do when I had to be outside, just like hating life. Roy gets fucking little Ben aside and he's like, dude, we're going to play this prank on these kids. I got this bear costume. Just play along, okay? So that they're setting that up. So Junior's left with all the kids. And they're really not incorporating them into everything. So they're like, what should we do next? And Junior's like, we should light a forest fire. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And
forest fires are bad. Didn't anybody ever tell you? That's the whole point.
Yeah. And the kids are like, one of the girls is like, just ignore him, guys. Just give him the silent treatment. And so he's like, oh, silent treatment? Oh, you like the silent treatment? Ignore this. And this kid just pisses on the fires. Just fucking zizzes all over the fire. I love the one kid's just like, ew.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's lunatic behavior, dude.
I love it.
That's just the most ultimate move. Ignore this bitch. Fucking whips it out. I love it. Junior, I'm taking my last sip for Junior on that one, Steve.
Yeah, Junior, Michael Oliver, you fucking held it down, bro. This was like a kid's Ferris Bueller. But Ferris Bueller for tots.
Yeah. Man, Ferris Bueller, if he's gonna be a fucking sociopath, he's killing it. So
Oh my god.
Junior's not having. He's bored. These kids are fucking boring. So he's like, you know what? What would spice this up? Let me get a steak. Let me lure a goddamn bear into camp. He lures a bear in with a steak, then just tosses a steak at the kids as if that's cool.
If they die, they die.
Yeah, fucking. And so there's a bear in camp, and little Ben looks around. He's like, "Oh, a bear! That must be Roy, the guy in the fucking bear costume." So he starts fucking. He's like,
Hey,
"Hey,
Roy."
Bam!
He starts,
Like,
starts giving it Rodzilla elbow chops and shit. Hey, Roy, what's up, man? Remember
so
that
this
shit you had
bear,
said?
this bear then gets pissed. This is a bear, Steve. This is a goddamn Kodiak black bear, whatever it is. Instead of just biting the shit out of Ritter, this thing javelin tosses Ritter across the fucking campsite and just fucking. I mean, yeah, it's like a straight up Street Fighter move. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's picking his nose and shit. Like, man, Roy, quit bullshit. I see this kid. This ain't no bullshit ass bear.
Roy! And then Roy comes in. Then the bear kind of goes away. I forget, like he just kind of go. Something happens.
Yeah, he checks the fuck out of him and just like walks away.
Yeah, and Roy comes in the bear costume now. Literally the worst time. I don't know how he didn't hear any of the noise. But that now fucking Lil Ben's all stewed up. He takes a goddamn frying pan, brains Roy, like causes some significant damage, and everyone's like shocked. But then we hear a little devilish laugh, and as Roy's possibly dead on the ground, little Ben looks up and fucking Junior's just in a tree like
and let's shout out to George Thorogood, man, because like that's definitely something I remember from the first movie. Like every time like Junior gets a score, it hits on that George. I
mean, that's how he's born into this shit, Steve. When they're adopting the kid, he's doing that shit.
Junior, you wear it so well, man. And this is another thing I remember is the party. We're here now. Despite the little girl's wishes, Lucy with her big mouth. Yeah, Junior, we in here. We outside and we in here at the same time.
I like how Lucy's dressed as like a Fruit of the Loom grape or some shit. Like I don't even get the costume. Yeah, but it's her party, Steve, and she's being a bitch. And this is where she says the thing. I love that Junior comes in dressed as the devil. I love that. I like that Ritter's like even before the party. Ritter's like, man, we might have made a fuck. Something's up. And lets him dress as the devil. But anyway, we're at this party, and Lucy and her friends are just cracking on Junior. Like, you're adopted. You're a fucking piece of shit. You aren't even a kid. You can't even hang out. You can't be out here. You hang out in the timeout. And that now Junior's sad, which he doesn't like. And when he has to stew in those emotions, Steve,
man,
don't want that.
That's a jambalaya. That's a gumbo of some heat right there, man. And like before we got to that, man, when Big Ben he wants to just like use Junior as a little representative, as an aide. They're like, hey, pass out some of these buttons and stickers. He takes them shits and just throws them into a pot, just like, fuck this shit.
I do also like when the guy offers it. He's like, for what? And the guy's like, for what? How about $5? Like, and he's like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Yoink, trash. Also,
I ain't here for that. I'm here to cause damage.
Also, I think it's maybe after he gets bullied, because basically Lucy trashes Junior because he's like looking at her presents and stuff. But I think after that, little Ben takes Junior's side and is like, look, man, can I give you something? I want to give you a family heirloom. And he's like doing a dad thing real quick. But his family heirloom is like a prune. It's a hardened prune, Steve. Which I thought was stupid, but it'll come into play later. But he leaves. Junior's just watching this party. He's an outsider. And then this is my party and I'll cry if I want to starts, because he starts stewing. And what can you do? What can I do to fuck this party up? Well, he does a lot, Steve. He does a whole.
You can't see the magic show. Yeah. He like, if I can't see the magic show, let's play the invisible pigtail. Snoop. Ooh, now you see it. Now you don't.
Yeah, but yeah, Invisible Man pigtail cut. What else do we get? He throws all of her presents, big and small, into the pool. That's a G move. You can't get those
One
back.
by one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like
he does
the
that.
way they edit it, they make it seem like she's watching all these things. She's clocking it all, Lucy. And she's like crying all the time, and he just continues the madness, Steve.
What's funny to me is that no adults interfered. This is so catered to us. And this is another added reason. Like, we own this world. This is our universe. You parents, you adults can't stop us. If I want to fucking drop a present off into the pool and they come back and do some fuck shit and then do it one by one and just give the whole party a show, I can do that at 7 years old.
Let me throw another one in the pool. Let me take a sprinkler system up into her bedroom and set it off. Let me throw another one in the pool. Let me put the fucking all the candy out of the piñata and fill it with olive and pickle juice and shit. So when people break it, they get all yuckety and shitty in it. That's gross. Let me throw the fucking candles out of the cake, put some firecrackers in there, which you would notice as an adult. You'd be like, what are these guys? What kind of fucking candles? But maybe not. But
these early 90s adults,
I guess, because he throws a couple M80s in there, and I know there's only 7 candles in there, but that shit goes up like the goddamn fucking Hindenburg, Steve.
Let me put another present in your fucking bitch ass punk pool, and then let me put a frog in y'all's lemonade, and then we put another present in y'all pool.
Yeah.
Let me clog up y'all's toilet too, for good measure.
Yeah, and also let me go ahead and watch the cake explode, and I love the end of the montage because he ain't even hiding it, Steve. He does all this dastardly shit, and then everyone at the party covered in cake is like, eesh. And he's he's just like, hey, fuck you. He's a stone cold. I mean, if he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, he'd be doing it, Steve. He'd be fucking pouring Steve Weisers in there.
I'll take another one for you, Junior. You fucking G.
Yeah. So now they got to go home, and now this is where the new parents are like, well, Ritter's like, I guess we gotta do something here. We gotta discipline this kid. He's the devil. What are we gonna do here? So he takes him into the room, and he doesn't have a strong hand, Steve. I would have been hit with every wooden object in the house. I would have been, locked away someplace deep for weeks. But Junior just gets put to bed, and
he has to give his allowance back too. This is Danny Tanner parenting we're dealing with, man. And he has to give the whole $1 of his allowance back, man. And, he doesn't want to hit him. And Junior, he's so crafty, so slick. He knew that little Ben was coming upstairs, and he just happened to be praying, and only for little Ben to overhear him saying, please, let's save the children, save the turtles, save the seahorses who aspire to be Frank Thomas.
We are a family. He's like John Ritter. He's just a sap, Steve. He's a mark, Steve. That's what he is.
He eats it up. Yeah.
But he's a nice guy. He's a Matt G. He's a Steve G. He's a sweetie on the inside, So we see that Junior's still got everybody wrapped around his finger, even if he is destroying everything around them. As that's happening, Kramer is making his way across the country. He's eating smiley pies, which as a fat kid, I always wanted to taste a smiley pie, Steve. They look delicious.
They sound delicious.
Yeah, and he narrowly gets caught, but he's on the run. And apparently his spastic movements and the way he hides from the cops is just simply walking with a poster in front of his head. These cops, they're not top notch, so he gets away. So then we come back to wherever we're at with whatever city we're in. And Big Ben, he's donating a new scoreboard to the Little League. And I got to say, just the flex of donating a scoreboard that's one size, and on next to it is an image of you that's at least 3 times the size of the scoreboard, is just a nice flex, Steve. But he's Big Ben, so I get it. But it's just like he's holding up the scoreboard. Just I love it.
Junior, once again, he wreaks havoc. He's not familiar with sports. He's not familiar with team activities. He's not a team player. He's a lone wolf.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, he disobeys all the rules of baseball. And if he ain't going to get a hit, he going to get some hits.
Well, he's told to never. He's like, again, the people need to watch what they say to this kid, because little Ben's like, just hold on to the bat. Just don't let go of the bat, because he swings once and he accidentally just the bat goes flying. So, hold on to the bat, Junior. And that's really the only thing he needed to hear, because as he's getting ready to go again, there's a catcher, Steve, that as somebody who played Little League, this kid is throwing some verbal heat. This is what you want from a catcher. You want a kid that's going, hey, fuckhead, you look stupid as shit. You going to hit this ball? He's really trying to get in the head, but you don't want to get into this kid's head again. So Junior takes all that abuse. I think he actually gets a hit, right? He actually
he gets a grounder. He gets a grounder that gets by and shit, but he doesn't let that bat go.
Yeah.
He makes it to first base. Pow in the dinghy. Second base. Pow in the dinghy and the face. Third base. Pow in the dinghy. And then he goes to the catcher at home base and pow in the dinghy.
Well, I mean, the catcher's even like, I got something for you, runt. And fucking Junior does a great, this is a textbook slide, Steve. But he's got that fucking bat like a javelin or like a fucking spike, and he just cups that kid right in the, even if he has a cup on, Steve, them nuts, them little fucking kitty nuts, they're gone. This kid's done, Steve.
Yeah,
that's technically an inside the park home run, but now as this kid's going touchdown, which is not even the right sport, kid.
Fuck it. I'm out here. I'm outside. I'm Junior, bitch. Fuck it. Slam dunk too. Alley-oop. Shit. Splash. Motherfucking goal.
They have a shot of John Ritter, and it's like when in Jaws when the guy sees the shark and it like pans in and he's like shocked. John Ritter realizes that he has essentially adopted Damien, the son of the devil. Like, this kid is insane. So But I mean, I gotta say, Steve, on Junior's side of this, the whole other team and people in the stands that appeared were chanting "Son of Dork, Son of Dork, Son of."
Yeah,
so if you bully a kid like this, you're asking for it, Steve. So I'm sorry. I'm taking Junior's point.
And this shows that Junior, like, Lil Ben, like, he has an effect on him. He's like, even though I'm being a little bass brat, I'm giving you a hard time. That offends him, because it's like, man, don't call him a dork. But they kept saying it. It's like, man, you know what? I'm gonna ride for my adopted dad. Mr.
I like
Ritters.
how G is too, because the kid's like, hey, your dad's a dork. And Junior's like, that's the guy I'm staying with. He's like, he sounds like a ex-con.
He's keeping me fed, damn it. He got me out of that fucking orphanage with King Kong Nundy.
So Junior's probably caused at least 3 catastrophic injuries as in that one game. So Ben takes him from the scene of the crime. There's no authorities involved here. But Ben takes him to church. This is a very old lady. I'm going to take your ass to church thing. This is my grandma's type of fucking thinking. And he takes him to church. Junior, like, tries to run away. He escapes into a confessional that conveniently is where Little Ben goes. And Little Ben just, like, confesses that he's wants to give this kid away, Steve. He's like, please, God, kill this kid, please. Make it so I don't have to do this.
Aren't they still wearing their uniforms in the church?
Yes.
They were? Like,
I think so, yes.
Lil Ben could not wait. Like, no, we're going straight from the field. Fuck this shit. You
gotta get right with God. We gotta exercise these demons, bitch.
I like that.
So, Junior hears this, but Little Ben's like, look, we're taking this kid back. So they take him to the adoption agency. Gilbert's there, and Gilbert's really painting a nice, he's trying to really guilt trip these. He's like, oh, you're going to bring them back. Your bad parents create bad kids. He's saying a lot of shit like that. And his sales pitch works because, again, little Ben's a mark, Steve. And he's like, he's been given away 30 times. And John Ritter
30
goes,
times.
30 times? Oh my God. We gotta keep this. We're gonna do what no one has done. We're gonna keep him.
We're gonna do it right.
I guess, but Florence isn't into it. And even as he makes the right decision, they're like, wait, where's Junior at? And he's out in the car and he's like, you're going to give me away. And he locks the door, starts the car, and then starts going, Steve. So we're going to keep this kid. And then immediately Grand Theft Auto happens.
Yeah.
You know?
And it leads to little Ben looking like Ferguson after he watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Cheerleaders. He's holding this pillow and he's just shook. He's like on some point on the dial where they touched you kind of deal. Like, oh shit.
Well, he sketches on a car hood in traffic while Junior's blindly driving, like laying on the ground. They somehow don't get hit in traffic, but Junior crashes the fucking vehicle. He could have crashed into a J.C. Penney, Steve, but he crashed into Big Ben's store. So fuck the bullshit. You know,
he knew what he was doing. He called me a lying little punk in the first act. I remember that shit. So
now we're back at the house, and Ritter has shell shock, like you said. He's in a robe. He's shaking. He actually approaches fucking Junior and tries to fucking smother him almost. But that, he's losing it, Steve. And as this is happening, as he's about to commit child homicide, Kramer shows up at the address.
The bow tie killer.
The bow tie killer himself. And he's looking for JR. And Junior's like, hey, that's me. I'm the guy that's been writing to you. And Kramer's like, there ain't no way the guy been writing to me is some fucking brat. Where is he? And then Ritter comes in. So Kramer essentially starts having to act like Junior's uncle, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uncle Marty is his name.
Uncle Marty. And he realizes that JR is really just Junior. He's a kid, but hey, Junior is still with the shits. Hey, he's trying to be Pippin to your Jordan, Michael Richards. And like Michael Richards is like, man, what the fuck is going on? That chick's hot though. I'm gonna see what's up with that.
Yeah.
Like, so so she's kind of like low-key swooning over dude because she's looking at this as an opportunity to get Junior out of the house. And he's following her into the kitchen. And he's been in jail. He's just been around hard legs for the past decade or so. And she's just in his face and she's looking all motherfucking Amy Yazbek and shit. He's like, bitch, come here. Fuck all that fucking apple pie and dessert and shit. Shit. And fucking, hey.
I'll take 50. You're going to get 15 years of some dick. And Flo's down with it. She's like, wait, no, 15 years? Yes.
I like the way you holding me.
So Uncle Marty dicks down fucking Flo, takes Junior, and as we kind of cut. We don't really know what happens, but at some point in the future, we see this like Ritter's coming to, and there's like a ransom note spray painted on the wall. If you want your kid back, I need $100,000. And he takes Flo, and Ritter's like just kind of. He takes it all in, but he just is like, this is it. Hell yeah. He starts throwing Junior shit out. He's like, see ya, Flo, you fucking bitch.
Fuck Flo. Fuck that kid. Team fuck them kids. He put that bitch in, eventually he picks up the article, the latest newspaper. And what kind of stifles me is that, like, how did they not know about this? Junior found out about this guy from the inside the orphanage, and this guy, it was like the OJ of their universe. He's all over the news on every channel. He's cutting in the Cartoon Network and the Nickelodeon, and you just now finding out that this is the bow tie killer who was sitting there eating tuna casserole with you and your wife and your new adopted son.
I mean, it's been 15 years, dude. He shined himself up good enough that the dick hypnotized the chick. And John Ritter at that point was so traumatized by, multiple crimes this kid's committed that he was out of it. So shame on them for not noticing. But at this point, you know, everything seems okay. It seems like Ritter got his dream. All of his problems are gone. All he has to do a couple repairs on the house, you know, go out, get on Tinder again. You're good to go. But then he's like rooting around in Junior's room to throw shit out. And he's like looking at all these crazy drawings Junior's done of like people in the family that are like monsters. But then he comes on a drawing of him, and it's a nice, sweet drawing. And he comes, I think there's like a note maybe, but there's also that prune. And
He sees the prune.
He's like, he actually fucking liked me. So now he wants to save Junior again. He's been rehypnotized, and he goes to his dad to get that 100 G's. And his dad, I mean, I don't know what you were expecting, Steve, but Big Ben is like, hell no.
You're
lucky.
That kid. Yeah, I don't care. Like, shit, consider it a blessing.
And that dumb broad you were with, I thought she was stupid from the get-go. So she did you a favor. So no. And little Ben is like, you know what, Dad? I quit. Not only from this job, but as your son. Goodbye.
And in the process, he basically puts his whole campaign on blast. Like, he's about to do some big speech for the public, going live on air. And at some point, Big Ben just flashes the camera and just some of his fucking just nasty ass, probably 60, 70-year-old plus ass.
Well, plus he's all like on a hot mic, like, these people are stupid. I could fucking sell them a fucking ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. These people are dumb. Oh, hi, me, Big Ben.
I sell my soul to the Japanese.
Yeah.
Hey, want to give them something to look at here? Hey, look at this. It's like a close-up, too. What the fuck? I like you, Jack Warden, but not that much.
Yeah, it's an old ass. But so, you know, he doesn't have the money, but Kramer sets up this meeting at some circus. And now little Ben's on the mission to get fucking Junior out of here. So, I forget exactly what happens, but
he takes Roy's car and he takes his super dad.
That's exactly.
Like,
I was like, how does he get
Roy,
there?
You've been annoying me for the past hour and a half. I'm gonna take your whip right quick. You ain't gonna need it. But we're going camping trip, motherfucker. We just went camping last week.
Eat a dick.
And give me that bullshit ass cap too. I'm the real super dad. Put my life on the line.
And tell your bitch I'll call her later. And he goes to the circus, they like get into the mix, like they do like a handoff, but they get the bag, he gets Junior back, and they basically sort of get in like a little chase around the circus with Kramer trying to get at him. They actually get in a high-speed pursuit because, you know, Kramer still has Amy Asback. At this point, she's actually she's in a suitcase. He stuffed her into a suitcase. She's so annoying. They go after him. Ritter's in Roy's car, and Ritter fucking at one point they're chasing him. He's busting shots with a shotgun, Steve. Like this is some sort of Magnum PI episode.
Yeah, I said the shit was getting cray in a crazy way.
If I'm Junior too, or you look at this, it's like maybe me and my dad might be able to rob some banks or do some evil shit because he's busting shots, Steve. He's killing.
But then the Bowtie Killer looks at the arsenal that Junior has. He's like, man, these are toys. I see KB on the fucking.
These are plastic, kid.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Throughout the chase, at one point, Flo gets ejected out of the car. I think she's in the trunk in a suitcase. Something happens. She gets ejected out of the car. I think maybe they crash. And when they crash, she flies out and into like a truck bed in a lower level of the street. So she's caught. She's not dead, but she should be. She's in like a farm animal truck. And Kramer gets arrested. Junior, Little Ben, they're hugging. But this is a part I forgot. Kramer like jostles out of the police like custody, takes a gun, and is like, "Hey, Little Ben, crack!" Shoots his ass in the chest.
This might be the worst police force in all of fictional cinema. But yeah, man. But even though Healy gets shot, the elect Healy button, and the prune stopped the bullet.
It's right here. The prune. He saved his life. Who knew, Steve? And now this is the beginning of a beautiful father-son relationship. You know, they're gonna go on. They're gonna go to bigger and better things. And what I believe, Steven, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't look this up, but I think Amy Yazbek plays the love interest in the next movie, Steve.
She does. She
What
does.
the fuck?
And they eventually get married in real life. Amy Yazbek and John Ritter, and she was his wife all the way until his death,
His
man.
death. It's weird that she played the love interest in the next movie, though. You know, but I
She
never
couldn't get
even
enough
noticed
of
it,
that.
so I guess I didn't. It didn't matter, and she did. They gave her like dark brown hair, I believe, in that movie. She didn't have red hair in that. They took that
She
away.
couldn't get enough of that Jack Tripper, bro.
Dude, I don't blame her, but Amy, dude, and shout out to a legend, John Ritter, rest in peace. But he got that, Steve, and clearly he was working with something good because Amy Asbeck in the '90s made
Fine.
Marion, made fucking Marion.
Which Jim Carrey movie was it? Mask she was involved in?
Yeah, hell yeah. She was like the girl that what you thought he was gonna end up or that he should be with. She was like the sexy, like not Cameron
Co-worker.
Diaz. Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I think she was a reporter or something. But
Reporter. That's what it was. Yeah.
hell
And
yeah.
Dennis Dugan, man, talking about him. This was his directorial debut.
Well, he went on to do a lot of like stuff that we loved. I mean, like I think he directed Happy Gilmore. He definitely directed Big Daddy. And a lot of stuff. You know, we love Sandler. So anybody that got in the mix with that, and he was clearly a guy that he's a good director, and he's a funny like background guy. He's always like the smart guy and stuff. And even in this, he
Always.
shows up real quick because he's like a guy with a kid that sort of makes John
At,
Ritter want to have a kid.
at Big Ben's sports store.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
The film did well, man. It placed third place behind Presumed Innocent and Ghost. It went on to be a commercial success at the box office, grossing 53 million domestically and 18 million worldwide. And also in 1990, Zsa Zsa Gabor begins a 3-day jail sentence for slapping a police officer in Beverly Hills.
Do
like
it.
a fucking OG. I'm always for that.
Zsa Zsa. Look how happy she is. Like, where am I going?
And she was a baddie in the 60s and 70s, and she's a twin. Either
That's
a sister
crazy.
or a twin. Like it was Eva Gabor and Zsa Zsa, man. And man, if I was Hugh, I'd know what I'd do back in them days. Like,
Zsa
hey, you want to come to
Zsa.
the penthouse? Yeah.
Zsa Zsa.
You know, who probably didn't watch Problem Child or Presumed Innocent in 1990, Matthew.
Ew.
Probably American race car driver and actor Nick Hogan. Or as I like to call him, the son of the immortal one.
I like he's race car driver and not just son of Hulk Hogan. Didn't Hulk? I thought this kid went to jail, didn't he?
I know he went to the hospital because one of his best friends ended up dying, or no, not dying, but got like maimed pretty bad in a car accident, and Nick was the driver, and
Jesus.
Hulk, yeah, he caught some flack because it was tape recorded the conversation he had with his son, and basically kind of justifying the actions, like, man, this is karma, brother. You probably
Yeah, I
shouldn't have done
remember that. He's like, man, I don't know what that kid did with God, brother, but God wanted this to happen. Like, I don't think so, Hulkster. And then they made like a business deal on the call too. It was like two things. It was kind of bizarre, but I guess shout out Nick Hogan. I guess.
I mean, I'm a super fan of Hogan, despite all of that. It's unfortunate, but you know, like you're
I
the
thought
spawn of Hogan. And
his
like,
daughter could get it though. Brooke,
yeah, hard,
she could probably
heavy.
body you up though too. She looked like a big broad.
I'll take that challenge.
Okay.
You know, my favorite Hogan quote: "No brothers can date my daughter, brother." In 1991, July 27th, as Matthew is turning 8 years old, A Brighter Summer Day premieres in theaters. Based on a true story, primarily on a conflict between two youth gangs, a 14-year-old boy's girlfriend conflicts with the head of one gang for an unclear reason, until finally the conflict comes to a violent climax. directed by Edward Yang, starring Chang Chin, Lisa Yang, Chang Ku Cho. Nope, we're not gonna do that. But
yeah. So is this an American movie, Steve?
it's not an American movie, and I tried to watch it on my alleged sources. But the thing that really got me, intrigued to want to watch it, is that on Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a perfect rating of 100. And I'm not familiar with Rotten Tomatoes lingo, but I rarely, covering these movies, I rarely see a 100. And it is available. It's available on YouTube, but it only has, what is it? The captioning is in like
Oh,
Chinese.
it's just like, oh,
It's
okay.
yeah. It's like what are we doing? I can't like, and I wanted to see because it's apparently an Asian gangster flick, and black folks, man, from the Italian shit to the hood shit to the American me's, the boys in the hoods, the New Jack Cities, the Goodfellas, the Godfathers. We love that shit. So I was like, well, shit, Chinese. How do y'all get down? Let's see what. But I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
but I
Well,
could, I just.
we'll have to get a Criterion collection or something. If it got 100%, if it's an old movie that has that high of a rating, that unless there's only one review, that has to mean some shit because
It's 20 reviews.
okay, well,
So
20
I
out
don't
of
know.
20, that's still good. I mean, that's not a huge number, but still 100%.
It's just something you don't see.
Yeah.
And like when I looked at the photography for this movie, man, it looked modern. It seemed like it was shot like in the past decade or so for
Yeah,
something to
definitely
come out this early in the 90s, man. 91.
film, dude. It does look beautiful though. I mean, Asian movies will fuck you up because like I remember when I had all those DVDs and stuff, we would get like crazy Korean horror movies or you know, a Criterion collection of some Hong Kong gangster movie you didn't know about like that movie Infernal Affairs that they ended up making the Departed movie sort of resemble. And
Yeah.
they they'll fuck you up. You have to read some subtitles, but those movies they fucking there's some good shit in there. So this is probably good. It looks fucking awesome.
Like if we can find it in American subtitles, like I'm for it because a City of God, that was all American,
Oh
like
yeah.
subtitle, but it was American. I could at least read it if I felt like it. But one more thing about this movie, I saw the screenplay and it has a group of people. One of the guys who wrote this is Hung. I just,
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
man,
Shout out to Hung Hung. You're a
how
real I
hung
hope
was he?
it. Hey
But as Matthew is turning 10 years old in 93, on July 27, Fat Joe the Gangsta debuts with his album, Represent. And god damn it, fuck Mary Kill. I like this album, Matthew.
I love me some Fat Joe. I got back like into Fat Joe because of Big Pun a little bit, and he had an album. It didn't happen in the '90s, but that Jose album that came out, like I think when
Jealous
we were
One
freshmen.
Still Envy.
Yeah, that
I
one
remember
was
you
fucking
had
a
that.
banger. But
Yeah.
dude, Fat Joe's a
And
legend, dude, and he's lost a lot of weight, so he's not technically Fat Joe anymore. But
he like and this whole time I knew he went back to the 90s. I didn't realize he went back this far. Fat Joe was 23 when this album came out, and I added most of this album to my playlist, man. It's very boom bap because it's 93. But as a 23-year-old from Bronx, New York, and you're going up against some fucking warriors. This is the Pac era. We're about to start the Biggie era. Nas is about to start. We got Wu-Tang in the mix. The Death Row era is in full effect in 93. And here's this chubby 23-year-old just fucking, dude, this album is a 5-star. It's a like
damn, okay.
shot for Fat Joe, bro. I love me some Joey Crack.
Dude, we used to
Pause.
bang Jose constantly, dude. That shit was fire. And I actually have gone back and listened to that recently, and I still stick to that. And I love the Jealous One Still Envy. I still fucking love that wordplay on the album name. So, Fat Joe, I mean, you did it. And you're gonna be around forever because he lost weight. He's looking good. He's doing good. He's still relevant still, dude. Shout out.
Still, man. Like from an era where people were trying to find their voice, he found it at an early age, man. But also in 93, the Smashing Pumpkins released Siamese Dream. Cause today is the greatest day of our life.
But this isn't the one, Steve. I didn't know about this. This is
This
before we found out, you know?
it depends on how you look at it, man. To some people, this might be the one. I am a melancholy and infinite sadness person, but this one also has Cherub Rock, and that's my shit too.
Okay. Damn, dude. Smashing Pumpkins. They've been going strong. Like you said, they're still touring and stuff. So Billy Corgan just annihilating. They captured it. And it was like, it wasn't heavy. It was like rock for depressed kids, I feel like is what our like stereotype of it was. But I was jamming them for a solid 5 years at least.
Honey, let me out. Honey, let me out. Honey. Yeah, yes, yes, sir. Who wants that honey? Don't, na, na, na. Also, as Matthew Geddick is turning 10 years old, Jordan Spieth, the American golfer, is born.
Nice.
We are that old.
Damn. Yeah.
And
he's a millionaire. Jordan Spieth. I wish I could golf as good as him. I'm a golfer now, Steve. I'm an amateur golfer.
Are you Jordan Spieth golfer?
I ain't Jordan Spieth, Steve, and I'll never be
Charles Barkley.
I honestly, I feel like he's got an ugly swing, but I'd like to see where the ball goes. Because you'd be fucked up. You see some guys swing an ugly swing, but then it goes exactly where they want. So he might just be stiff. I suck, but I'll fuck you up. I'll fuck somebody up that can't golf. Let's put it like that.
Oh, hey, I respect it. You know how to pick your battles.
Yeah, exactly.
Pick the ones that you know you can win. But somebody who probably didn't listen to Fat Joe the Gangster or the Smashing Pumpkins in 93 is probably American basketball player Reggie Lewis. Born in 1965, on this day in 93, he died at Brandeis University in Waltham, Massachusetts. He suffered sudden cardiac arrest on the basketball court. Two Brandeis University police officers found Lewis and attempted to revive him using mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but they were unsuccessful.
Was this drug related?
No, this actually wasn't, man. This was a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a structural heart defect that is the most common cause of death in young athletes.
Yeah,
and I remember when this happened.
Dropped, right? Like he just straight up dropped. Like it wasn't in a game though.
No, because this was in July in the summer. This was at like a summer kind of deal. It was during the off season, and he just dropped on the court as he's conditioning himself or whatever. And Reggie Lewis, he was actually an all-star. He was kind of taking the baton from Larry and McHale and Parrish, and Reggie. He caught the tail end of that. He played with those guys in their last years, and like he was going to be like the new guy we're going to build the franchise around, and then this happened.
Yeah, I definitely, it was huge. There wasn't the internet, so all news didn't get to you immediately, but a pro athlete dying in like the pinnacle of his success it's always going to be huge. So it was crazy. Yeah, I was conflating this with somebody else, like another person that died from drugs that was a basketball player. So no,
Lynn Bias.
That's exactly.
Yeah, but that was also the Celtics. He got drafted in the 80s, the same draft that had Brad Daugherty by the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was the number 1 pick. And that next day he had died from cocaine overdose, man. Wow. So yeah, shout out to them and RIP. But in 1998, July 27th, WC Nitro is airing from Alamodome, the house that Robinson and Duncan built, from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
Los Spurs.
It might as well be the NWO show, Steve, because they're wreaking havoc at this point. They're everywhere. They're growing. There's 2 different factions at this point. The Wolfpack's here. There's Steiner on Steiner violence, because we get a little recap of what's been going on at the beginning. So Rick Steiner, Scott, there's some beef there. Hall and Nash, there's some beef there. Bischoff, He has
And Jay
some sort
Leno.
of he's got some beef with Jay Leno. Bischoff's got a talk show, Steve.
That kind of
So
mimics the Jay Leno show. We see Rick Rude, Kurt Hennig, Scott Norton, Vincent, Brian Adams, Scott Hall, and the Giant. They're doing damage. Hall and Giant, they're the champs now. Brett's the champ. And they're saying now only one belt is missing for the New World Order takeover.
yeah. This is supposed to be a night where all the WCW guys, like the commentators, this is the night they got to get their groove back, Steve. They've taken a lot of L's. You know, the legend, Larry Zbyszko, he's pissed. He's like an old dad. He's fucking furious these little ragamuffins are doing all this damage. NWO does come out, all those guys, Steve. And while I love all of the NWO coming out, I would be remiss if I didn't call out Rick Rude and the insane. I don't know what to call the lineup that he has with the facial hair.
I don't like this. I don't like this, Rick Rude. You should have stayed in WWF, Rick. Like, I respect the reason why you left the WWF, but I like that Rick when he was with DX. His shit was clean. He had that stash. Everything was on point. But this shit, man,
this is a once off, Steve. I don't think anyone before this day or after this day ever did whatever the fuck this facial hair, whatever you want to call this.
I don't like it. I don't like the stash, the lineup. I don't like the energy. This ain't the Rick Rude with DX. It was a cooler energy. This DX or this Rick Rude, like, and I get it. Him and Kurt Hennig were like this, man. They're from that Minnesota crew, man, and they came up together. They were boys in WWF, and like he wanted to work with his boy again. But at the same time, bro, this is not my best version of Rick Rude.
I mean, the facial hair, he's an ass kicker still. He looks tough, but it looks like he lost the bet. Or somebody shotgunned like black ink onto his face.
It's very dog-faced gremlin. He's got like a Rick Steiner goatee. And then like, no, bro, it's either stash or nothing ever.
It looked like he has like he drank like coal and it just stained the outer rims of his face. But he's all fucked up looking and NWO's in full effect. After they leave for the first time, Raven has to do his little shtick. He's like has like a little timeout in the ring. He always had, he gives a little poem, Steve, or at least like a dissertation about how he's been hated his whole life. People think he's a loser. He has kind of a little, I'm a fucking loser. He has a little list.
On some Beck shit, man. Like, ever since grade school, they hated me. In junior high, they hated me. In high school, what about Raven? When is it my time? And like, this was like a representative of the 90s. Like, we went to school with that kind of, this is the grunge wrestler. The Kurt Cobain wrestler.
This is the melancholy and the infinite sadness wrestler, Steve. He's melancholy.
Exactly. He represents that because that was a thing in the 90s. You had those sad ass Daria. It's always raining and gray cloud ass Alanis Morissette, and Raven was that for that kind of niche.
And his squad's looking weird. I don't know who everybody out there was. Saturn not there. But he gets Saturn to come out because I guess they're in a thing. Saturn comes out and I mean, just this guy, like as tough as he is, the outfit, Steve. I don't like.
I like what you said
in
the last episode. You were like, "Yeah, he's definitely doing solo masturbation videos."
Yeah, dude, he is. And this doesn't. I mean, he looks like a guy who just came from a gay porno shoot. He's got fucking some cutoffs. He's got some
jorts.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe he's on like he's working construction, but they get in a whole tussle. I don't remember how this goes. Like how this eventually. I think they just get the drop on him, and that's it. Well, right?
It was a 3-way angle between Saturn, Raven, and what is it? Canyon. So like Canyon comes out, and you think he's coming to get Saturn. Saturn turns around, gives him a Death Valley driver, and then Canyon comes to, he gives Saturn the flatliner, his finishing move, and Raven is unscathed. And that's kind of how this whole angle plays out. Like everybody fucks each other up, Saturn and Canyon and the other flock, before you even get to Raven. And he's just there in the corner, just watching it all unfold. Like, nobody ever loved me. Go fuck each other up.
Yeah.
Nobody likes me. Oh, yeah, go kill each other.
He's the
Nobody.
master of puppets, Steve. He's puppeteering everybody, all these little losers. So that happens. And then we get the first actual match, Steve, which is Jim Duggan, not Hacksaw. Don't say that. Jimmy Duggs and the Barbarian.
Yeah.
At least Jimmy Hart's there, though. You know, Jimmy Hart's at least in the mix.
Duggan's still going Duggan, because he's doing his whole Stars and Stripes thing. USA. Yeah. And he's wearing his motherfucking fupa tights. I don't like this Jim Duggan. They're like Jim Duggan with Vince. His shit was like more like, okay, you look like you work out. You might have played football back in the day. This Jim Duggan is Weekend Warrior with the fucking fupa. He's got a male fupa with the fucking, like, they look like they're diapers, like blue diapers.
He's got like a chicken pot pie body. You know, it's real fucked up, but it's Jimmy Duggan.
Teletubby.
Yeah. And he's, you know, Duggan wins this. But then we get a little Samoan on Samoan violence or something. I don't know what the Barbarian is, but then Ming shows up. Ming's, I don't know, in a funk about something, and he just tonk and death grips everybody. I don't really understand why, but
yeah. It's one of them random things I remember. Like, yeah, I definitely watched this episode when it happened, because I just remember Ming just not being phased. People were like beating the shit out of him and punching him in his face, and he just couldn't let
you can't get it off. He's like Mankind, Steve. It's WCW's Mankind. Except he's Ming, you know, he's just the Samoan guy that's got he's got a beef with everybody, and he wants to, I guess, choke you out. I don't really know what the Tonkin death grip does, but
you don't want to find out. No. And up next is the Eric Bischoff's Tonight Show, and he's got some one-liners and some puns and a lot of Jay Leno jokes.
Dude, it's like 8 minutes, and dude, I get it, right? They're setting up the whole beef with Jay Leno, and I don't think it's that funny. It is, but the balls to do this, and like Bischoff, it's just him. They'll cut away to some whack NWO band who I don't know who that is, or for some reason Miss Elizabeth, who you can only see in like cutaways, but she's looking great. I will say that
she is hot. I like this version of Miss Elizabeth. She had picked up some weight, that middle-aged weight.
She picked up some weight, Steve. If you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
In the 80s, man, she was like cocaine thin, like, you know, Michelle Pfeiffer and Scarface. Like, I like this one,
but it's long. But they get a couple of Viagra jokes. They get a couple of Monica Lewinsky jokes. It's timely. And then finally, Hollywood Hogan comes out because he's the guest. And brother, Jay Leno's taking a couple liberties, brother. You've been saying a lot of personal things, brother. And I say what you will about Hulk Hogan. I got to say, the jackedness of the Hulkster in this is fantastic. Yoked, Steve.
Like
the mix,
man, I would
the perfection of whatever that cocktail was that they took to make him be able to do that. That's next level.
If me or Jordan looked like that, Blue wouldn't have tried to steal your Cypress Hill album in front of us. He would have like second guessed and like try to thought about like, now maybe this isn't a good idea.
Because even like Hogan in the 90s, there wasn't that. That shit looks like boulders and shit. It's not as soft. Like this is the tan, the crazy black facial hair with the blonde Guy Fieri shit. I mean, the whole thing is insane.
Bro, his bicep looks like the Chicago Bulls logo. How the fuck dare you, Terry Bollea?
This dude did it. And he puts Leno on notice that essentially, if he doesn't stop saying whatever it is he's saying, he's going to take care of business, you know? You shouldn't, and you just shouldn't fucking poke the bears, Steve. If I'm Leno, he's like, look, I've taken everybody down. Athletes come in here, everybody, and your fucking big fucking chin ass thinks you're gonna kick my ass? Hollywood
Yeah,
Hogan's ass? Hell
keep
no.
your keep your nose in your own business and your chin in check. And I gotta give a shout out to the Nitro Girls performance because they got this little young lady named, I think is a Flame or Fire.
Blaze, Steve.
Blaze. Oh yeah, she's blazing that stage for sure, for sure.
No,
Shout
you
out to
might be
Blaze.
fire, but that I mean, she is
It's
sexy. And
something.
they do like a little strip tease, Steve. It's like a little, nice little cabaret, if you will.
Muy caliente.
And now we go to DD because see, Steve, this is a 3-hour show, so the amount of wrestling in this, there ain't that much. We're not going to another match yet. We're going to DDP. And DDP gives an intense interview where he calls out Hollywood Hogan. They just got done with the match with Rodzilla and Carl Malone. He's hurt. He just took a brutal beating from Bret Hart as well, I believe, where he lost like the title.
And he got jumped by the whole gang. Gang.
Yeah, and that's a whole thing that we'll get to, but he says this cold-blooded thing where he's like, "You didn't kill me, Hogan, and you shouldn't hunt something you can't kill." Self high five. And then he bangs his way out, Steve. Pause.
Jerry Curl dripping
Yeah.
all over that ring.
But I like, dude, DDP gives up. He's like got like it's not as like scary as a Jake the Snake, but he has like a tinge of Jake the Snake where he'll give you like a cold-blooded like old white man line where it's like, this guy might have a gun. I don't know. We got to get out of here.
Well, they're boys, man. So like a lot of people pick up game from Jake because he's one of the best as far as like psychology and trying to like sell an angle, sell a story. Yeah. And so like Diamond Dallas Page, and Scott Hall, they're kind of like two T's of Jake the Snake, man. So like it makes sense. I know what you mean because Jake the Snake hit like there's no one like him. He's always going to be monotone, and I'm going to talk to you in a subtle way.
Well, he played it where it was like if it was a movie, you'd be like, that guy's a killer. That guy has killed people, and that's scary. I want to be away from that. So, yeah, dude. Yeah. But then we get another hilarious NW. This one, Steve. Like. So the commentators are out, and the commentators are pro WCW. So before the next match, we get another new. They're like every time that you think there's something that's gonna be like real happen, then the New World Order music starts. Everyone's like, "Oh God, again!" Scott Hall comes out, and he's with Dusty Rhodes, and they approach the commentator booth, and I mean, Hall gets real comfortable, Steve. He takes a seat on the table. He breaks the WCW Nitro label, like logo thing on the table, just with his foot. He fucks it all up.
Get shit out of here.
And Dusty Rhodes, he puts Larry fucking Zbyszko in his place because Larry, you've been talking reckless, and I'm putting this is a do-rag, and I'm putting a Texas. What did he call it?
A Texas gag order, baby. I'll put a Texas gag order on your Larry Zbyszko. You're jacking up the English language. You're saying I can't handle the English language. Well, you, Larry Zbyszko, sitting in my seat, and you need to stop jumping in the business of the New World Order.
And if you don't shut up, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna gag you myself with this dirty ass rag, Larry Zbyszko. Bye bye. And
man. Shot for the legend, you fucking son of a plumber.
And I just love that he gets to be like kind of a heel in this. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, and I love it.
Larry's on notice. He's gagged. They handle it hilarious. But then, dude, this is what I loved about this part of NWO because when they did Total Domination, they did it so well. So that leads into an actual match where Scott Norton, who is like sort of an unsung hero of mine because I always loved him in the video games.
His power bomb.
He's a tank, Steve. Like when you see this guy, like the way he's built is crazy. So he comes out, he's the NWO guy, and he's going up against a legend, Steve, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He's coked up, he's crazy. he's got a little bit of that foop action you were talking about. He's not as yoked up as Norton, but I was like, clearly, if we're going to get a match here, no.
You think?
I mean, all that happens is Norton gets a hold of Neidhart, power bombs the living shit out of him, and it's over, Steve. I mean,
Grand opening, grand close.
yeah. Um, new world order. They're taking
For
over.
life.
So now there's this whole hullabaloo, and we're gonna get to my opinion of Goldberg and the whole like shtick of it. But at this point, Goldberg's 100 and something and oh, he's a tank. He's
120.
Yeah, he's annihilating everybody. But to this point, Steve, he's never even done an interview. We've never heard his voice, I guess.
And you know, that adds to the mystique. So tonight is the night. Oh my God, he can talk? Goldberg can say words?
What's he gonna say? What's he gonna do? So they're setting this up like here we're gonna go. Here we go. We're at his door. They open the door. New world order. It's just fucked, Steve. Hulk Hogan went in there and did a bunch of blow with Scott. They did a couple of graffiti tags. There's a couple of piss puddles. They took a poop. You know, they're really fucking it up, Steve. And I love this. You know?
I love that shit. It's so for life. That's so
the
good.
room's and we don't even know at this point. Maybe Goldberg's dead too because his room's trash and he's nowhere to be found. But we cut away from that to another. There's another interview. Now it's time for Bret Hart to come out and talk. And this is a Bret Hart that maybe some people aren't used to. This is a pissed off Bret Hart, Steve. He's riding the line. He's not. There's all these factions. Everybody wants Bret, Steve. He's the new U.S. champ, which is funny because he's Canadian. So he put the screws to America on that. I love that. But NWO White and Black wants him. I don't know. Wolfpack wants him, of course. He's the hitman. But he basically just comes out. He wants to congratulate himself on winning the championship, which I love. You know, he's like, you people aren't gonna give me any fucking props. I'm coming out here. I need to pat myself on the back. I took that fucking belt from DDP. I gave him a nice ass.
I feel like Bret Hart will probably admit himself that he's not good as a heel. Like, you know, for what it's worth, he does the typical heel things. He does the heel tactics. He'll run some interference for his gang and all of that. But man, Bret Hart is better at Bret when he's at his face, when he's doing the face shit.
Even in this, he won't pick a side in the storyline, and even as he's acting sort of like a prima donna asshole, I think like the shtick of him being bad was really just like Bret Hart's with the bad guys. He never acted bad because even in this, where he's kind of saying these things, because in his match he sort of got into it with Sting. So he mentions this and he has to pull back because he's like, look, I have all the respect in the world for Sting. Sting, he's my guy. We got a lot in common. Stinger Splash, the sharpshooter, the Stinger, whatever, the Scorpion Deathlock.
Scorpion Deathlock, yeah.
And he's like, Sting, I respect you. Sting, I'm your friend. And that's really how
he's doing it in a very on the fence way, man. And up next, we got Chris Jericho versus Dean Malenko. And this is one of the first rivalries when I actually started watching WCW intently. This is like one of the first ones I was introduced to. And it introduced me to Chris Jericho at the time. And like, they put on a hell of a good match, man. Every time they linked up, they put on a great match.
Yeah, I mean, this one especially, like, this has obviously been brewing for a while because I think the one like pretext to this is that if Jericho wins this match, Dean Malenko never gets a shot at him ever again.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. So he breaks the walls down, which I thought that was his WWF song, but I guess it was this, and I loved hearing
No, it wasn't. They only doing it because of like Vince owning everything. Back then it was even flow? No, he had like it was like how DDP has Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was kind of like a one note off, like grunge song. I just can't call it.
I think you're right. But in this, it's a great match. Like, of all the matches we get to see, technically, like, this is the banger. And you've talked about this. These guys were friends. They had that click. And these guys have a great chemistry in the ring. There's a lot of, like, reverses, high flying shit. Dean Malenko, he's kind of like a blasé a wrestler to me. I never really liked him as much. He didn't have a lot of personality, but motherfucker can pull some moves off. He's like he's a short king, Steve. He's stocky.
His movement is like Hervé Villachez.
Well, and he's very cold blooded. I mean, isn't it that what Dean
the Iceman?
The Iceman, yeah. So
yeah,
and they go back and forth. And in some point near the end, Jericho, because he's the master. He's got this pair of knucks that he's always got, and he pulls them out. And in like some sort of confusing back and forth, Malenko gets him, cracks Jericho, but gets kind of caught by the ref at the wrong time and gets DQ'd. So now he's lost the match, and he's lost the any possibility, I guess, to ever fight Jericho again, which I love that. That's hilarious.
He gets DQ'd, and up next we got Kurt Hennig with Rick Rude versus Steve McMichael. And Mongo, he storms to the ring looking like he's fighting the painkillers from wearing him down. He looks like death. Like, I don't know if you clocked that, but when Steve Mongo is coming to the fucking ring, he's just like Uncle Fester in the face. And it's like, damn, them Somas, goddamn Quaaludes.
Yeah, dude.
Walgreens.
He took a popper and shit. Right? He took a couple of duster hits. But Kurt Hennig's coming out here just to be a badass. He's got Rick Rude, even with the bullshit ass facial hair,
With the Rick Steiner lineup.
Yeah. But, really Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, they're peas in a pod, Steve. So they get dumbass Steve Mongo McMichael in the ring, and it's only a matter of time. Mongo gets a couple of moves out, stiff as fuck as always. At one point, Rick Rude grabs his leg, and that's all it takes. Hennig belts him once. Perfect Plex is a gigantic dude, which I'll never understand how you can do that.
Hennig Plex.
Hennig Plex is the guy, but how he did that, because, I mean, this Mongo guy, he's fucking a former football player. He's fucking huge. Kurt Hennig's no spring chicken, but, I mean, it was crazy, and he wins, and, Rick Rude and him are going to go eat some pussy, and Rick Rude's going to... I mean, Rick Rude got laid that night, Steve, even with that ridiculous facial hair, and I just respect.
Going to leave some Just for Men stains on some pillowcases for sure.
Yeah.
And up next, man, we got another Hollywood Hogan promo along with Bischoff and Disciple. And what I liked about this is that he called DDP dirty trailer park trash. Just so blunt and just... Fuck it, we out here. Fuck y'all's hero.
But he also, first of all, the Disciple. I don't like that Hogan just has a stunt double with him that's just out here just to like, hey, hang out. You're just my guy. But
it's Brother Brutai, brother.
Yeah, but that guy's there. But the one thing that Hogan said, and it was just like a pause moment where he's like, listen, brother, I'm going to ride you hard, brother. I'm going to ride you long and hard. It's like, dude,
caught that.
You know what the fuck you're saying, Hogan. Don't say that.
Nope. Man, I think he was a deer in headlights, man, because even Bischoff is looking, he was kind of like, nobody clocked that. Nobody, no.
I would have been like,
people clocked that. People clocked that, Eric, because he just had that like, damn, I'm holding this mic and he's saying this shit. God damn it.
Okay, we're gonna go now. But so Hogan's got it out for DDP, and he doesn't like the vibe. He's getting called out, and we hear from a lot of people Hogan doesn't like to be called out, Steve. So TBD on that, because before anything else, if we didn't want to slow this down anymore, we get a fucking replay of Karl Malone, DDP versus Hollywood Hogan and Rodzilla from Bash at the Beach.
A pay-per-view. A recent pay-per-view within the past week. Like, Eric at this point is that thirsty because the Vince and Austin show is taking over the world, like globally. So, hey, let's give him 6 minutes of our main event of a pay-per-view. And,
it's
long
not
story
exciting
short,
though, Steve. Like, what? I don't understand. Like, put fucking Hugh Morris out here or something. Do something else. We don't need to see this shit.
Yeah, long story short, Rodzilla and Hollywood Hogan, they get the win, man, because Hey man, NWO is going to NWO.
But I was, all respect to Karl Malone, G. That guy was bodied the fuck up. I mean,
He was.
yeah, I always thought of him as just like an old like badass, but when you saw him in the wrestling thing, I was like, damn, dude, like he fucking came to fucking play. He definitely looked the part. So shout out to Karl Malone, dude.
Basketball players are some of the most conditioned athletes in the sports kingdom. Like even Rodman, like he just had that Rodzilla shirt on, man. Like he was always yoked up. But now we finally get our Goldberg promo. Goldberg. I don't know why I went Cindy Brady all of a sudden, but at this point he's 120-0, and at this point I think I stopped counting. There's like the shark has jumped. I'm more in tune with Vince again.
I just didn't like. I don't like Superman stories. I don't like unkillable heroes. You know, 100.
That part.
Getting to 100, I get. At this point, it's like, I fucking. Do you have a roster of anyone he hasn't fucking done this to? It was boring, and I don't know what the juicing was for him, but he has no neck. I mean, this guy was like if you gave Stone Cold Steve Austin the Hulk serum. Like it just looked insane, dude. He was just he was a fucking beast. He's pissed. His locker room is ransacked. And NWO is trying everything they can. They pulled some guy, Brian Adams, who, yeah, I mean, who's left? Who the fuck do we got? Brian Adams, he's big. Let's bring his ass out. Yeah. So, Goldberg, I don't know. He's fine at rocking the mic for what he needs to do. If this is his first time, it is what it is. It's not great, but he's really just like doing a Batman growl and just telling Brian Adams, I'm going to fuck you up. You're next. I'm doing this for WCW because fuck these NWO bitches.
And after that, we got an Arn Anderson promo who's headed up to here with that goddamn Mongo. Like, dude, stop trying to like bring up shit from the past. Yeah, we were popping. We are.
I'm an old man. I can't wrestle no
more. Yeah, my man Rick, he's bedside. He's laid down and shit. Without Rick and shit, I getting gout. I'm getting gout in the foot. So get like you a newcomer. Like stop telling me about stories that I lived. I get it, motherfucker. Shut up.
He's got that old man
lost
like
to Kurt Hennig. Focus on that. You just lost to Kurt Hennig. So like you talking about trying to be in the Horseman and Legacy and all that. Man, you lost to Hennig, motherfucker. You supposed to be. You won a Super Bowl. Don't man get that together first before you holler about joining the Legacy of the Horseman.
I got these tight ass Kirkland jeans on. I got Mongo telling me I need to wrestle. I can't. My damn arthritic ass, I can't wrestle no more. I do like he calls out Mongo because he's like, bitch, you're trying to get us together, and I see one fucking dude that just lost. We got two squeaky wheels, a fucked up wheel, and I'm out. So fuck a 4 horsemen. You got 2 horsemen and a fucking, I guess Benoit's all fucked up at this point. So he just wants it to let it be. I told you to let it be, damn it.
That shit was a decade ago. This is the 90s now. I'm supposed to be in the backstage. I'm just trying to like.
I want to retire. I'm too old for this shit. So I gotta go. I got some hardware down at Ace I gotta pick up. Goodbye. I'm doing a fucking pool job later. Goodbye.
Asphalt.
So now we get to I love this, Steve. We get Scott Hall versus Sting. We get fucking Wolfpack versus the NWO White and Black. I don't like Sting looking like this. He looks like a clown.
Fucking hate it. It takes away from the mystique of Sting. He's very girl dad, this Sting. He's like, hey, we're in the house. Holler if you need me. I'll be in the next door if you want to play board games. We're the Wolfpack.
I mean, I would have loved to seen a Surfer Sting come back. You could have done that with a little black and red face paint. It would have been way better, but it is what it is. We get 2 fucking bad motherfuckers fighting. And I do like, it's something I completely I didn't forget, but when I see it, it makes me smile, is when anytime in a match where Scott Hall gets up on somebody and he starts doing that classic Scott Hall disrespect move where he's like slapping him on the fucking head and shit. He's like just bullying him and noogieing him and stuff. I love that. Sting as always. We get some vintage Sting. We get a Stinger Splash hat trick at one point in this where he just goes back to back to back on Scott
He's got
Hall.
that much heat in his heart.
Also, another move that Scott Hall does that I always like to, it just seems like something that you would get injured on and very hard to do when somebody like jumps at him. He catches him midair and like flips him over his back. But man, dude, like I feel like a guy would like land on your head most of the times if you didn't have the muscles to like really toss their ass, which he does. It's Scott fucking Hall, Steve. It's
Hey, we're talking about
ledge.
dripping El Chismo.
Hell
Come
yeah.
on now.
But at the
Hey,
end
yo.
of this match, Bret Hart, Sting's friend, Sting's amigo, comrade comes out because I don't know. I guess he just needed to. And Sting just, I guess, takes it as a disrespect, Steve, and starts fucking laying into Bret, you know?
And then eventually Hennig comes out, Vincent, probably Brian Adams, but then Luger comes out. And he's
I'm
taking them
pissed
down
now.
one by one. I'm pissed now.
I do like that Bret Hart, while this is happening, and this feeds into like he's riding the middle of all these people. As the NWO comes out, Bret, he's like, you know what? You guys take care of it. I'm just gonna take a seat in the corner here. I just want to watch,
Yeah. I'm just gonna collect a check this week.
Yeah. So he does that. Hall gets, because Nash comes out too. The Wolfpack comes out, and it becomes like this NWO brawl. Hall gets some in on Nash, which, I'm a Hall guy. I still love Big Sexy, but Hall does his thing. Sting finds Bret Hart, and he tries to get at him, but Bret fucking just runs. That's his move as a bad guy, I guess, is just turn tail. And,
Yeah.
Damage done, Steve. I don't know if Sting and Bret are friends anymore. The band might be breaking up.
He's got a cold heart, that Bret. And up next, we get some Papa Pump and Buff Bagwell. It's the big booted that is in his house. I love this. Is the beginning right here of my favorite version of Scotty. Yeah.
I mean, this is a wild like promo though, because first of all, they're showing like what happened was Buff got hurt. Rick Steiner wanted to apologize to him because I think maybe there was something with his neck.
He fucked him up. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the apology, we find out that Buff was sort of half faking it and with Scott Steiner, and they beat the shit out of Rick. So there's this whole mental manipulation thing. And this week they come out again.
Yeah.
And do like this whole like comedy routine thing. It seems like they're kind of fucked up, honestly. Like they're a little tuned up, if you know what I'm talking about.
Papa Pump is finding his way, man. Holla if you hear me. It's your big booty daddy. I love it. It's so great, man. Up next is the Goldberg versus Brian Adams. We finally get this match, and this shit begins and ends in no time. Like,
can I give a WCW one like hint back in the day if I could go back? Don't put Goldberg's locker. Why is he 175 miles away from the fucking... He always has to do a mile walk to the ring, Steve. I don't like it.
And this is what makes it annoying too. At this point, bro, every time he makes an appearance, even in this episode of Nitro, they have to knock on the door for him to do his promo. They do that thing. I thought you only did that for your matches. You have to do the 17 guys on each side of the door knocking. It's like, all right, you ready? All right.
We need cops. This guy needs cops surrounding him at all. He's a live wire. I'm like, why?
This is getting ridiculous at this point, man. Like, there was a time when it was like, man, Goldberg or Stone Cold. It was iffy.
Yeah.
There was a time.
But I got off that train at like win 30, Steve. I'm telling you, it didn't even need to get that far up. I was like, he's not even talking. That's where they lost, because if this guy came out and was saying some badass shit like Stone Cold Steve Austin, we might have all kept listening a little bit, but he didn't have it, Steve. And he didn't. Yeah. I'm talking to you, Steve, and I'm talking to Steve Austin, because you beat Goldberg. You literally, he himself beat WCW, I feel like single-handedly. because this was their last chance, really. I feel like.
And they didn't know what to do with it, man. And yeah, that wraps up before you knew it. And DDP is the main event against Hollywood Hogan with the Disciple. At some point in the match, a toilet paper roll is thrown in there. And if you're a heel wrestler, this is like a sign of growth. Like, yes, they give a fuck enough about me to where they're throwing a belonging of theirs at me and not caring if it returns to them. Like they care that much. They want to hit me with something.
Yeah. And like this is later in like, but they're getting TP. So you're right. Like the hate means that somebody that it's working, you know. And Hollywood and fucking his cosplay double, the Disciple, come out and they're dripping, they're glistening. But even a guy like the Disciple who's bodied up, Steve. I mean, he looks like a lame biker to me. It looks like some cheesy guy like that. But he looks like shit compared to Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan's what? In his 40s at this point? Or God knows.
Probably pushing 50. Ain't no telling, man.
Dude, the motherfucker is bodied up. But DDP comes out. He's all fucked up. He's like at 50%, if that. He's just gotten his ass whooped by Bret Hart, the NWO. He's really WCW's last like vestige of anything. Him and Goldberg. So he comes out. He gives himself a couple of self high fives. But Hogan's whooping his ass, which we all wanted, Steve. I didn't want to see DDP thriving at this time in my life, you know?
I never want to root against Hogan, even when he was Hollywood. And eventually DDP gets that diamond cutter on him. But hey, there's not too much you can do because NWO, they're going to show up. They're not going to be too far behind.
You can't beat them. It's cool if you get up on them, but you ain't going to win that belt. So I do love that, dude. If Hogan's down, get them boys out. Scott Hall, they come out. Everybody comes out. The Wolfpack comes out. Fucking Goldberg decides to come out finally. He gives a couple of real stiff fucking whatever you call that shit.
Shoulder blocks and clotheslines.
Yeah.
And yeah, eventually after that, after he takes NWO one by one down, the Giant comes in and he just choke slams the fuck out of Goldberg. Like, oh yeah, you ain't got shit for me. Even Kevin Nash gets out the ring when the Giant comes in the ring.
Hell yeah.
Which I don't like in Big Daddy Cool, man. Y'all both 7-footers, man. Like, why you?
Who
And you from
that?
Detroit?
But I will say on the Giant though, the way he holds a dude up, like Goldberg's what, 300, something close to that, whatever he is. The Giant holds him up for like a solid 8 seconds. Like he choke slams him, and like any good show, I mean, this might have been 3 hours, but at the moment, at the climax of the action, we gotta go. And that's it, Steve. We don't know what fucking Goldberg might be dead with that choke slam. We don't know.
Got to tune in for the next Nitro, but only for a
Banger.
second because I got to get back to watching Vince.
Yeah.
Pause. But in 1999, as Matthew turned 16, look at you. You got
I
your
was driving,
permit,
dog.
You got your permit. You can stunt on them little freshmen and stuff. You can tell them you could pick them up from class. In 1999, Hot Boys released Guerrilla Warfare.
You want a hot? I want a hot boy. I probably had this. I probably played this in my 16-year-old car.
They on fire. Hot Boys, the Hot Boys.
Dude, Manny Fresh, dude.
Man, this is no pun intended. This is a jambalaya, a gumbo of sorts of good, young, talented guys from New Orleans, man. And a great recipe, even more so because of the production by the Manny Fresh. Like, that guy was the secret key ingredient of Cash Money success, I feel. And I don't want to take away from Juvenile, Turk, BG, and Wayne, but man, he brought that New Orleans bounce. He gave it that flavor because that made it more recognizable compared to his contemporaries at the time. Because he's from New Orleans, he gave it that bounce that you only hear from I was about to say Jamaica, from New Orleans. I've been sipping that Crown Royal too hard. But anyways, man, and there's some jazz implementation into it too, man.
Well, and also I just feel like this was the time where, at least for me, I mean, you were more into music than I was, but like especially around then and like moving on from this, it seems like producers became as famous as like the artists sometimes because Manny Fresh, I mean, he rapped, but
Totally.
he was making the beats and shit. So like I would listen to some of the like this, like any of this Cash Money stuff or any of the like because of the producers. I wouldn't necessarily like the artist as much, but I was like, oh shit, this is a Manny Fresh beat. Let me hear this, or this is Pharrell beat. Like I definitely want to hear this shit. So I think you're right. I feel like he is like the key ingredient to the success of all of them because he was making those fire ass beats that we were loving. So shout out to Manny Fresh. He looks like a human, like an adult baby. But
Always.
I still love him. He's fucking a baller. So baller alert.
Fucking here's your flowers, Manny.
Hell
You're
yeah.
a legend. Also in 99, Destiny's Child releases The Writings on the Wall. And this is the one with say my name, when no one is around you. Say, baby, I love you. And the one with the can you pay my bills, give me random bills. I don't think you do, so you I don't know how it goes, but all of these ladies are fine. Of course, we know
Kelly?
about the Queen Bee. We know about some B. We
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
But Kelly Rowland,
Kelly,
unsung hero.
that
Yeah.
Nelly song, Steve, that Nelly video with her in it. Oh my god. And dude, all these chicks, I'm sure are all fantastically
Latoya Luckett.
still
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, I'm not what yeah, of course they are. What am I gonna say? I'm a schlub. These fucking angels on earth, but Kelly, that's if I had to pick
Kelly.
one, she'd be mine. That's my personal favorite. So
I just hate the fact that I'll never get the chance to date Kelly Rowland.
it's all right. You don't know that, Steve. There's always a chance, Steve. Just keep working at it.
I will, Matt. But also in 1999, Tony Hawk is the first skateboarder to land a 900. And I don't know shit about skating or ollies or anything besides the video games, but I do know this man is kind of like the Michael Jordan of skateboarding.
Yeah, this shit was even hard to do in the video game, so I can only imagine how hard it was to do in real life, Steve. So shout out to Tony. Skateboarding was cool in the 80s. It kind of died for a while, but this dude made it bigger than it ever was, ever will be.
Yeah.
He created a fucking whole thing. Like I feel like if he had not done some shit like this, or if it wasn't for Tony Hawk, the X Games and all that shit would just be nothing. Maybe,
Same, man.
maybe
Any
somebody else.
callbacks, honorable mentions, or conspiracy theories you like to share with us?
Well, I'm to gift to be able to do this show on my 40th birthday with my buddy Steve. So I'd love to give a shout out to you for that. And just a shout out to just a vintage Scott Hall, Steve. I mean, rest in peace to a legend. He's one of my favorites. He's almost become my second favorite because doing this show, I've realized how Shawn Michaels pretty much is my actual favorite wrestler. But Scott Hall, a badass, a beast, one of the most influential wrestlers that I can think of. And I just love seeing him before it went to full shit. I don't like the last little shit that we got of Scott Hall in the NWO, but I feel like this was still him at, close to his best. And I love seeing it. So shout out to Scott Hall, Steve. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. to a legend, man. He's still slugging in these days. Only thing I got, man, is that in 1991, Howard Stern show, they're airing an episode titled California Casanova. And there's a portion of the show where he's imitating Clarence Thomas, and it's probably cancelable by today's standards, but it's Clarence Thomas, and as a black man, I don't give a fuck because he's not black, he's Clarence Thomas. But also, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Matt. Happy birthday, happy 40th, man. 40
yeah.
revolutions, man. And cheers to many more, man.
Hell yeah, buddy.
I swear, like the people who fucking watch this, man, thank y'all. for watching and listening. And for what it's worth, there are conversations had before this man even pushes record where it's a reminder that, like, man, like outside of this shit, man, there are people that do care for you. And this guy's one of them, man. So, like, shout out to you, bro. I love you.
I love you too, man. I'm having a blast doing this, and I echo what Steve said. It's cool that anybody listens to this, and we just can't thank you guys enough. So I'm happy to still be here. It almost didn't happen, Steve, but we're here, man. We're still doing it. We're gonna keep doing it. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, man. And please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your little sister, today is the greatest day I've ever known. Please check out Crushgasm on Wednesdays. And Don't Worry Be Movie with Amanda and Wade and our buddy Clark the Shark, or I should call him Councilman Clark at this point.
Put some respect on it.
Councilman Clark. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s.
For Latin World Order.